So there is an effective way to make sure that you stop falling for female narcissists, and there is a less effective way to make sure that you stop falling for female narcissists. And I'm going to talk about them both and hopefully shed some light for you guys so that you can stop repeating relationship patterns that are ultimately making you feel like a piece of gum that's getting tossed in someone's mouth, sucked of flavor, and then spit out when all the flavor's gone. Okay. If you've been made to feel like that, if you've been made to feel in relationships that you are constantly being abused, being mistreated, not being respected, then you're going to want to watch this video. So for those that don't know me, my name is Michele. I'm a life and relationship coach, super passionate about helping people overcome narcissistic abuse recovery, complex PTSD, and childhood trauma. I'm the founder of the Thriver School of Transformation, which is a monthly membership where we meet live on Zoom and we work through these things together. So the doors to the school are currently closed, but they will be opening the first week in March for 5 days. So from March 1st to the 5th, if you want to jump on and join us, I'll be putting the links up at that time. Okay, until then, let's talk about how to stop the pattern of falling for the love bombing of a female narcissist. Okay, and this video is actually inspired by an older video that I was watching earlier today. And the title, I think, is The Female Narcissist, 2 Reasons Why It's Hard for Men to Let Go. And I was watching that video. I'm going to leave the link here, although I cringe about that because when I was watching that video, it was about 4.5 years ago that I made that. And all I could see was how much I was still in my own trauma. I was very much still the wounded healer at that time. Like I watched that video and I thought, oh my goodness, like I still can see in my eyes, in my tone of voice, I can still tell that I was still on my own road to recovery. So that's just my cringe warning if you're going to check that video out. But what happened when I was watching that video, I jumped down to the comment section and I actually want to read the comment that I read that in part was heartbreaking and in another part, I totally understood what this person was saying. So the comment says, when I first got together with the female narcissist, I had never felt so validated and confirmed. All I had to do was breathe, and she told me I was amazing. She did warn me in subtle ways that she had another side. 18 months later, she was nothing more than an insane, bickering, demented 5-year-old in an adult's body. I got out, but the recovery is long. Okay, so that being said, let's talk about what people do to not fall for another female narcissist. Okay. 9 times out of 10, the first thing that people start doing is learning all of the red flags. And it's almost like when you go on a date with somebody now, it's like you flip open your pad and you're like, check, check. Okay, no, they don't do this. And it's almost like a narcissist interview when you're dating and you're trying to see if this new person has any similarities to what you went through. Which makes sense, right? I mean, we definitely want to learn from our mistakes, and learning about those red flags is effective. But it's not enough to make sure that you never fall for another one again. That is important to understand and to learn, right? We need those pieces of the puzzle to kind of gain clarity as to what happened in the first place. It's really hard to heal from narcissistic abuse when you don't understand what happened or who the other person was and what those manipulation tactics that they were doing that caused you so much emotional turmoil. So I'm not trying to knock that, okay? I just want to really clarify that that's not enough. And the reason it's not enough has less to do with narcissistic abuse and more to do with complex PTSD recovery. Okay, so that being said, let's talk about what is the most effective thing you can do. Well, going back to that comment, that individual said, I had never felt so validated. I just had to breathe and I felt worthy. Okay, so what a female narcissist will do to be able to get you to fall for the love bombing is, it's not that they just throw compliments at you that, that don't make sense. No, they'll probably share something about themselves, a certain weakness. They'll pretend to be vulnerable. And then you'll come and you'll share, because that's what we do, right? Someone's being vulnerable, we'd be vulnerable back, and we're opening up to each other. So you're going to share your I can't even say it. Your vulnerabilities. You're going to share those with her. And she's going to seem so interested, and as if she really cares. And she does care. The problem is that her care is for a different motive. When she's getting you to talk and share, she's actually looking and listening for your vulnerabilities, for your wounds, your core wounds, your insecurities, because she knows that the female narcissist knows that you have those wounds, and since you still have them, you haven't learned how to heal them. And so what the love bombing actually is the narcissist healing your wounds through their behavior. In other words, if I have a wound, I'm not enough. Let's say I share with somebody, I'm on a date, and I share with them that, I feel like I'm not interesting. For whatever reason, that person shares, and I share, I'm like, I don't think I'm, I always felt like I wasn't as interesting as maybe my, roommate or my sister or something like that. I don't feel like I'm interesting. Well, that toxic person, if it's a malignant narcissist, like registers it. Oh, doesn't feel interesting. And what that person will do is start pointing out all these little things that make me interesting. Wow, Michele, I love that you do that. You're so interesting. I can't believe you even think that. Like, I think you're this. I see this. People just haven't seen you. I see you. And when that happens, you can have memorized all of the red flags of a toxic person. And this is why just knowing the red flags isn't enough. It's less effective, because if you just know the red flags and you learn about the narcissist, all of that information is in your left brain. That's your logical brain. Okay. Well, when we have an old wound that somebody is kind of touching on, right, in whatever way, even if it's whether it's that they're touching it to hurt it, or they're touching it to kind of put emotional balm on it, they really show up in our emotional brain, our right brain. And 9 times out of 10, when that's happening, your brain will kind of short circuit, in the sense that your left brain will go offline. When our subconscious beliefs are kicked on, all the logic, all the memorized facts, all the information that you spent hours on YouTube watching video after video, that doesn't come up, because the belief is getting kicked on. It's getting kicked on in your emotional brain. And when that happens, it's touching on an unhealed subconscious wound that has a program. And since it's unhealed, your nervous system will notice. It will notice the similarity between this person's behavior towards you, what you're feeling, and the unresolved issue from the past. And what happens is, you're in the relationship, they're healing that wound for you by telling you how great you are, by validating you, by whatever your wound is, telling you that that's not who you are. In essence, what they're basically doing is treating you 2 ways. One, how you should have been treated in childhood, right? If that's where that wound came from. And 2, they're treating you how you should be treating you. but you're probably not, because until we learn about this, until we go into the complex PTSD recovery part of this, then we run the risk of internalizing how we were treated. And so if somebody always told us, you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're not interesting becomes, I'm not interesting, I'm not enough. And so now we're treating ourselves that way. And then along comes this female narcissist, right? And obviously it works both ways, but I'm just focusing on you guys for this video. But along comes this female narcissist and treats you how you should be treating you and how you should have always been treated. And that feels so good. But now you're dependent on that person to feel that. And that's exactly what the female narcissist wants. She wants you to be dependent on her to feel like you can feel enough and that you can feel interesting. And that's what starts creating that bond with that person and that craving for that person, because you're finally feeling what you have never been able to feel, okay, which is the healing of that wound. I'm enough, I'm interesting, I'm worthy, I'm lovable. So that being said, the most effective way to never fall for a female narcissist isn't so much what you do externally. It's not what you see and being really watchful. I mean, that is part of it. But the most powerful thing you can do is take time to find out the wounds that made you vulnerable to that female narcissist. What were the beliefs, the negative or limiting subconscious beliefs that you had from whatever reason in your past that narcissistic person kind of honed in on and then used to draw you in? The more you can upgrade your own beliefs and fuel yourself from within, you won't go on dates trying to look at the other person and discern if they're a narcissist or not. You're not even going to be thinking that. You're going to be fueled from within. You're going to know who you are, okay? Because another piece of childhood trauma, for whatever reason, is that we wind up being disconnected from self. So we don't even know how we feel. We don't know how to gauge anything. And if we had narcissistic parents, we learned how to gauge things by the other person. So along with upgrading your beliefs comes really learning how to connect with your authentic self again. The more authentic you can be, regardless of how other people see you, that is like kryptonite to narcissists. They hate it. They don't want anything to do with it. Okay, so I hope this helps. And by the way, if you're struggling with how to do this, if you don't know how to upgrade your beliefs, if you feel like you're learning and learning and learning about the narcissist and staying stuck or repeating relationships like this over and over, make sure you check out the School of Transformation. We have men and women in there that together we are working through the side effects of complex PTSD, of childhood trauma. We're learning how to kind of shed the coping skills of all of this trauma, and the purpose is so that we can be the person we really are instead of who the trauma turned us into.